There.
Fort Lauderdale police are looking for 3 armed men suspected in a drive-by shooting. 2 men were wounded this morning. One was hit in the hand, the other in the arm. They are being treated at local hospitals. The incident happened at 1250 Northwest 29th Terrace. The suspects are described as 3 black men armed with a .22 caliber shotgun. They got away in a charcoal gray Acura. A man who was shot in Liberty City last night remains hospitalized this afternoon. The shooting happened at a housing project on 56th Street and 23rd Avenue. Police say the victim was talking to the gunman when they opened fire on him. He was shot several times and taken to Jackson Memorial Hospital, where he's listed in critical condition.
Metro-Dade police are holding on to a woman they say cut off the head of a chicken right in front of a cop and then drank its blood. 49-year-old Ophelia Garcia is charged with cruelty to animals. The police had gone to Southwest Dade looking for information on a wanted fugitive. One of them heard a scream and went inside a house. He told the woman to put down the chicken. The police say she appeared to be in a trance and cut off its head. Another woman at the home told investigators the suspect had been trying to cleanse the house of spirits. Police are keeping a close eye on a convicted criminal who's proving to be one slippery character. 17-year-old Royce Reed appeared in Dade Circuit Court this morning, and he was ordered held without bond under tight security. He has already been found guilty of armed robbery, kidnapping, and car theft. Police say in March he escaped from the once, got caught, then escaped again. He was rearrested yesterday at Jackson Memorial Hospital. Somehow he'd gotten shot in the hand.
Jacksonville police are looking for 2 men who robbed and shot a Persian Gulf War veteran 1 week after he returned home. Petty Officer 3rd Class Daryl Young from the USS Saratoga was shot and robbed outside a Jacksonville nightclub earlier this week. Now, police say Young was approached by the men who offered to sell him a camera. Young refused the offer, and the men left, but they returned and demanded Young's money. He told them he didn't have any. Well, one of the gunmen then shot the naval officer in the thigh and robbed him of his gold chain and tennis shoes.
Miami police are calling it the biggest crime sting in the city's history. On the night beat, Eyewitness News reporter Peter Dench rode with police as they rounded up alleged drug dealers, prostitutes, and robbers who are said to be preying on Northeast Miami.
There you go. You got it. That's it right there.
For moving in on suspected drug dealers, prostitutes and their customers, and setting up roadblocks that might find people driving drunk or with suspended licenses, Operation Neon is in high gear. Neon stands for Neighborhood Enhancement Operation Network. A roving force of 100 officers will spend the next 30 days in Northeast Miami in a first-ever such crackdown. The operation runs from 54th North to 87th Street, from Biscayne Bay West to I-95. And the efforts involve many other city and state agencies and will involve removing trash and abandoned vehicles.
Sanitation department, the code enforcement, fire department.
A former policeman turned mailman is now a jailbird. He's charged with trying to rob an elderly woman of her life's savings. George Laws was arrested by Fort Lauderdale police. The former Sunrise cop is charged with grand theft and exploitation of the elderly. The cops say Laws befriended a 90-year-old woman on his mail route and somehow got power of attorney over her $300,000 in savings. He allegedly withdrew $4,000 before the cops moved in and froze the assets. It was the answer to a cry for help. 2-bit thieves and druggies were taking over their neighborhoods. So today, a small army of heavily armed federal agents moved in. Channel 7's Rick Chambers was there for Operation Rock Bottom.
Loosen this one up a lot. Take a look at the
Federal agents gear up for a pre-dawn sweep through Homestead, Cutler Ridge, and Florida City.
As small as Florida City is, it had an enormous amount of drug traffic going through it. Since we're the last largest city on the mainland, I had to ask and received all this assistance.
It turns out the help was just a phone call away. Some 200 federal and local cops took part in Operation Rock Bottom, a sting targeting the sellers of drugs and stolen property.
This kind of operation brings up like the cream of the crud, so to speak, the repeat offenders, people out there that are constantly, for a living, stealing.
This time, though, that cream of the crud sold their goods to federal agents posing as bad guys. This is where it all began, warehouse number 53 in a small industrial complex down in Florida City. Federal agents set up a storefront fencing operation in this place, and they took in everything from machine guns to washing machines. And the undercover cops paid bottom dollar for the merchandise.
The storefront was basically designed to purchase illegal goods from the people that were out there selling them, not to put them into business, but the ones that have already been identified as burglars, thieves, narcotics dealers.
Armed with 125 arrest warrants, police made their move at sunrise. Some of the suspects took the raid in stride. Others, though, were not as cooperative.
Come on, Mary, don't make it worse for yourself.
Despite this show of manpower, the number of suspects in handcuffs would be somewhat disappointing. Less than 3 dozen had been nabbed by midday. Nevertheless, the feds are already hinting at a repeat visit in the coming months. In South Dade, Rick Chambers, Channel 7 News.
Now, federal agents say they plan to seize a couple of homes before this is all over. The value of the stuff recovered so far, more than $300,000.
A scene we have seen many times before, a heightened police presence after a tense night in Overtown. Good evening. The streets of Miami are the focus of our news tonight. First, a police-involved shooting in Overtown has sent one person to the hospital with minor injuries. Miami police sent in extra officers to head off any problems, and the highway patrol and police block off streets in the area.
Now the details. Tonight, police are dealing with a disturbance in Overtown, an incident that started after a police-involved shooting. Eyewitness News reporter Emily Aiken joins us right now from the scene. Emily, what can you tell us?
Dwight, I'm at the corner of North Miami Avenue and 20th Street. This is the northeastern corner of the perimeter, which is set up in this area. The perimeter goes from Northwest 5th Street to 20th Street and Miami Avenue to 7th Avenue. Police are advising, unless you have a reason to come into this area, don't, because there have been sporadic incidences of violence, not bad violence, just rock throwing and bottle throwing. Nevertheless, some civilians have been hurt. This sporadic violence has been going on since earlier this evening. The first sign of trouble came around 7 o'clock here at Northwest 1st Place and 17th Street, the area where 30-year-old Charlie Brown was shot.
This guy was seen by several witnesses with a gun. Officers who was on routine patrol saw the guy with the gun, confronted him. Shots were fired by the officer, which struck the guy in the right side, which is a minor wound.
He is listed in satisfactory condition at Jackson Memorial Hospital. Soon after the shooting, his mother, Oretha Witherspoon, arrived at police headquarters to check on her daughter, who she said was being questioned by police about the shooting. Meanwhile, at the scene, a crowd had gathered. Civic leaders arrived, trying to keep the onlookers calm.
We're just trying to keep the community calm. Well, we're telling people that we're going to investigate it, and people other than police officers are here. We care about the community, and we really do care. The state's attorney's office is on the scene now, and I think things are well in hand at this moment.
But even Teal's presence couldn't curb all the violence. A block east of here, a police officer was hit in the face with a bottle and taken to the police station. Within a half hour, 3 fire trucks arrived with their bright lights to help police officers search for the weapon. It didn't take police officers long to find the weapon. With those bright lights, they were able to go down into some of the drainage areas and the storm areas and find the gun. It took only about a half an hour. As soon as they found the gun, they quickly left the area to reinforce the perimeter where I'm standing. Right now, Dwight and Terry, things are calm at this corner. Let me just peer down 20th Street. They are calm down there at the other end of the perimeter as well. Once again, they are advising everyone to stay out of this area unless you have a reason to be here.
Emily, have police made arrests of the rock and bottle throwers?
No, not that they have told us about. They haven't been giving us much information on this, Dwight. It's very difficult to keep a pulse on this because the acts of violence have been sporadic and all in different places in this area, so it's tough to get a handle on it.
But everything appears to be calm right now.
It does from where I'm standing.
Emily Aiken, thank you for that live update from Overtown. Terry?
As Emily just told us, there is a heightened police presence in and around the area all night. Eyewitness News reporter Michael Putney is keeping track of police activities from Miami Police Headquarters. Michael?
Terry, I've just come back from Overtown, and as far as I can tell, in the vicinity of Northwest 3rd Avenue and 16th and 17th Streets, the situation is under control. There is a field force, 2 field forces, about 100 officers are in that vicinity. For an update, though, let's bring in Officer George Law, spokesman for the Miami Police Department. Officer Law, turn around this way, if you will, so everybody at home can hear you and see you. Give us an update. What is the situation right now in Overtown?
Right now, the situation in Overtown is under control. We're still having some sporadic type stuff that are occurring by a group of sect of people
that is trying to start trouble. But we have our field forces out there who are going in to quell the situations, and right now we have it under control.
Have you made any arrests?
We have made a lot of arrests. It's approximately over 50 arrests right now, stem from disorderly intox to inciting a riot, but we have made several arrests.
All right. Roughly how many police officers are deployed in the area tonight?
We have the double amount of our regular routine everyday patrol. Each field force is comprised of about 50 to 70 officers, and we have about 5 or 6 field forces out there.
All right, and once again, just to set the record straight, the shooting that sort of sparked this whole thing was not a shooting that began with a Miami police officer. Explain to us how that happened, the sequence.
Well, our officers were on routine patrol. It all happened about 7:24 when they were in the area of Northwest 1 place to 16th Street. At the same time, there was an argument at 3rd Avenue and 17th Street where there was some type of gun battle shootout between the parties there.
And your officers then went to that scene?
Our officers then rolled up on that scene and tried to intervene. When witnesses saw the guy walking with the gun, they were confronted by the officers. The officer fired at least 2 shots, striking the guy in the right abdomen, which resulted in a minor wound. He's at Jackson in good condition. He wanted to walk out and refuse treatment.
Okay. Officer Law, thank you very much. Officer George Law with the latest now. We want to show you some videotape from the Overtown area. This was shot just a few minutes ago. What you are looking at is the Overtown Mini Police Station, which is at about Northwest 3rd Avenue and 17th Street. This, as you can see, was completely trashed. There was a dumpster. Other rocks, bottles were thrown through the front window. And we spoke to that officer there, the sergeant, who told us that actually inside it is not as bad as it seems. And then that was a very brief shot of a van which had been trashed and a Dade County van which was sitting in the parking lot. That was the visible damage. We talked to some of the officers who were in the field force on Northwest 3rd Avenue. They were calm. Nobody was shouting at them. No guns were drawn. They had their riot gear on. But as I say, it appears that the situation is under control at this moment. Dwight and Terry?
Michael, when that police station was attacked, did the police try to retaliate in any fashion that you can hear?
I wasn't there, and Sergeant Darling, the black officer whom you saw in the station, really could not speak to me at length. Apparently, nobody was hurt in that incident, but when the crowd approached and trashed the station, I have a feeling that the officers retreated at that moment, and then they retook the station later.
All right, thank you. Michael Putney reporting from police headquarters. Now, as a precaution, police have blocked off exits from 95, 195, and 112 that lead into the area. Police have also blocked off a section of Liberty City. Now, you do not need to travel through Liberty City or Overtown. You are urged not to. The perimeters keep shifting, but at last word, in Liberty City, police have closed 62nd Street East and West between 12th Avenue and 17th Avenue. And in Overtown, the disturbance began in area around Northwest 16th Street between 1st and 2nd Avenues. In Overtown, the streets blocked off are bounded by Northwest 20th Street, Northwest 3rd Street, and Northwest 7th Avenue.
Good evening. A drive-by shooting attack today targeting volunteers trying to build homes for needy folks in Liberty City. The group headed by former President Jimmy Carter. Channel 4's Susan Wallace is in Liberty City tonight. Susan, what can you tell us?
Susan, Metro-Dade police are still hunting at least 2 suspects who opened fire in this area just before noon today. Now, witnesses say it sounded an awful lot like firecrackers, but it took them just a split second to figure out they were under fire.
I feel fine.
Pat Morris says he didn't really know what hit him, not until he touched his hair and found a bloody wound. It happened as Morris and other Habitat volunteers prepared lunch under this tent. A passing motorist fired off at least 3 shots. One of them hit a nearby car. Another grazed Morris's head.
It just came out of nowhere, and everybody hit the ground, and the rest of us were just kind of dumbfounded.
Everybody got under the table.
We have one of our people,
His head was just grazed. He was grazed.
Witnesses say the group was targeted, though police are downplaying that.
And it was a random type incident, merely coincidental that, one party happened to be shooting at another party, and it happened to be in this area.
About 400 Habitat for Humanity volunteers are in this area of Miami to help build 14 homes and a daycare center. Former President Jimmy Carter, who heads this project, is not at all scared off by the shooting.
To me, it just shows that we really need to build some nice houses, let people know that they can have a good life in the future.
In the meantime, Pat Morris showed off the hat that was on his head at the time of the shooting.
I'm a very lucky guy, basically. It looks like it went through the brim here, and through here, and then came out there, which was on my head. So.
Wow, talk about determination. Pat Morris insists he'll be back on site at this project first thing tomorrow morning. His doctors warn he may have a slight headache, so Morris is in a position to request some light duty. In the meantime, police hunting down 2 suspects. The descriptions of these people, 2 black men in their 20s driving a medium blue Volkswagen Scirocco. And no sign of those suspects as we speak. That's the latest. Back to you, Susan.
Talk about determination for Pat Morris, Susan. Talk about luck.
Right, luck, luck of the Irish, as
I
he
guess
said.
so.
A career criminal will remain free even though the jury which decided his fate admits it announced the wrong verdict. Channel 4's Katrina Daniel has tonight's surprise decision from the judge on how to handle the mistake.
The verdict, which was acceded to by this jury in this courtroom before they were discharged and before they were exposed to outside influences, will stand.
The verdict was not guilty, but the verdict was a mistake. Shelby Cleary was on trial for armed robbery. The jurors meant to find him guilty, but they checked the wrong verdict box, and no one, including Judge Melvia Green, caught the mistake until it was too late. The jurors came back to tell the state attorney's office they'd made an error. The state attorney's office tried to go back to the judge, asking her to throw out the wrong verdict. She refused. The judge's anger that the case had gotten media attention both on Channel 4 and in the Miami Herald far outstripped her fury over the mistake made in her court.
State's conduct in choosing to litigate this in the media, this has just become a farce. And I'm going to tell you, I think it's just an abomination here.
If Mr. Hanfeld is suggesting that the media contacted me, no, they did not contact me.
Judge Green blasted prosecutors for leaking information about the case, but the case is a matter of public record. Almost, but not quite forgotten in all this was defendant Shelby Cleary. His defense attorney is delighted because Cleary is off the hook for this crime.
I think that the judge did what was the correct thing. It may not be what was the most popular thing to do, but as a juror, she has to follow the law.
Despite today's events, Shelby Cleary won't be a free man anytime soon. He's in jail, waiting to go to trial on 2 new charges. One's drug possession, and the other is still another armed robbery. In Miami, Katrina Daniel, Channel 4 News.
Another member of the Yahweh religious sect is turning against his leader. Yahweh Ben Yahweh is facing charges surrounding the murders of at least 8 people. Well, now one of his followers, Michael Mathis, has agreed to testify against the self-proclaimed Son of God and other cult members. Mathis will go to jail for 6 months in exchange for his statements.